Hello friends, I'm Colonel Failure. This is Get Back to Work, a game in which it's not a game. No, I've done this intro so many times and I invariably get the order of the words wrong. Anyway, I'm going to talk about something. I'm going to play a work simulator while I do it. If you don't know the format by now, you will do shortly. The game is Farming Simulator. The topic is making games. It's midway through harvesting season. Well, it's towards the end of harvesting season. I've been a busy little monkey, and I'm in the process of dealing with sugar cane at the moment. And I'll be totally honest with you, I've had it with sugar cane. Not that it doesn't make any money or anything like that. Pretty sure that's going into the whatnot. I can get out and have a quick check. Sugarcane sugar. Yeah. So what you're telling me is I'm just tipping that on the floor. Emptying this is a total pain in the proverbial because it doesn't give you an accurate tipping zone. I mean, look, I go here and it'll go, oh, you can't do that. You kind of go, you flipping can though. I've done it here so many times previously. There we go. Just stick it on in there. If we jump out, we should now. So there we go. We've got sugarcane coming in aplenty, and it will start making sugar. I've got a pile of sugar there that I've just left for future generations to look at as it wilts and rots, and that's lovely. Right, put this back down again. A lot of mouse action required in unhooking the sugarcane basket, but there you go. Lots of changes around the farm, you know. Oh, lots. I've only got £2 at the moment because I actually splashed out and decided to buy a sugarcane harvesting unit because I found I was just renting one every year. I even in one year I rented the big dog dedicated sugarcane harvesting harvester, and let me tell you, it wasn't worth it. No, 350 grand. I rented it. It would cost me 17k to rent it, and it's just not worth the price of admission. It doesn't make it much less of a pain in the bum. So I've decided to stick with this, which is a total pain in the bum. But I think I might even take a contract to harvest some sugar beet to see if that's more fun to do. I need the product, but I need it to be slightly more fun to do. I can work with sugar beet, but I need to figure out where the joy's going to come from. Oh, flaming Nora! It is powered on, isn't it? It is powered on. Right, it is lowered, isn't it? I'm going to go with yes. Try. Well, lower then. Come on. Hang on. I've got to get this underway before I can talk about today's topic. Try switching to the tractor. Can't switch to the tractor. Do that? No. It's just not. Comply. That's the weight at the front. That's working. Yeah. There you go. What was your? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, that's got it now. We'll start cutting real good. There we are. Right. Yeah. And I mean the fun bit is that I've got two batches of sugarcane to harvest. This is the slightly more awkward one, and then I've got another one which is slightly awkward. So that's good times for all involved. Anyway, today's question comes from Dusk. Hi, Colonel, says Dusk. I've had lots of ideas for fun PC games in my head for years, and I would really like to finally try making one. What advice would you give to someone who has a little relevant experience with coding and designing, who desperately wants to try making a game? Great question. Now, almost without exception, if you turn up inside a major publisher at a game and you're in your early 20s or something like that, a major game publisher, and you're in your early 20s, you will at some point say to someone, I've got a great idea for a game. To which the response from the wizened old dog will be, you and everyone else. Because the idea is by and large the easy bit. It's relatively easy coming up with an idea. What is more difficult is to come up with an idea that is any good. And by that it means It needs to be fun. And you go, well, what's fun look like? And that's the real question. What does fun look like? There are anecdotes aplenty. I'll give you one anecdote, right? One piece of anecdotal evidence for you. The game Crackdown, going back a little while now, originally came out on the Xbox 360, and it was supposed to be the opposite of Grand Theft Auto, right? Where you play a cop and you're dealing with all of these miscreants running around the city. I'm not getting it confused with APB. No. Same people, but it was still Dave Jones who was the architect of Grand Theft Auto originally, back when it was at DNA Designs. No, Crackdown. You were playing a future cop dealing with villains, and as part of the testing, they accidentally broke the physics during one build that they'd put into test, and it turned out that allowed your cop to have super strength and super speed and able to jump over buildings in a single bound. And everyone testing it went, this is really good fun, right? This is like splendidly good fun. And as a result of that, they kept it in, and they made that a core feature of the game, was that actually you were a super cop, and over time you could develop your super cop skills yet further, and it became a smash hit game. It was in part fueled because and this is when betas were ruined forever. Betas, right? This is when they were ruined forever. Is they used the if you bought Crackdown, you got early access or guaranteed access to the Halo 3 beta. Before that point, up to that point, a beta test had been used to actually test the game. From that point on, a beta test became something that marketing could leverage in order to flog a game, because it worked tremendously well. And this game that might have gone unnoticed ended up being picked up by a ton of people, and they went, hey, this is really good fun. I probably wouldn't have picked this up if I hadn't have got it, picked up because I wanted to play the Halo 3 beta. I digress a little, but the point is that it is often emergent gameplay that makes things great. It is something that you haven't designed that the players pick up on. And the one thing about players is, as soon as they've got your game, it's not your game anymore. It's their game from that point on. And if they're playing it and having fun in doing so, and not harming anybody else's fun in the process, then they're playing it correctly. And it doesn't matter what you originally intended. If they're enjoying themselves, let them. As long as they're not wrecking it for anybody else, then they're playing it correctly. Right, okay, so you've got your idea. Emergent gameplay, that is. That's emergent gameplay can often lead to things you hadn't expected. And there are numerous examples of games that took a radically different direction after it was discovered people playing in a way that hadn't been anticipated. And as a result, the developers were actually shrewd enough, smart enough to go, okay, right, let's beef up this side of the experience in order to make it sing. And what do you know? They then end up with a hit. But we're talking about just making the game in the first place. So the first thing to do is you want to make the game as quickly as you possibly can. My chosen method for doing so is I will use either pen and paper, or more frequently I'll use Excel. Because an awful lot of the kind of game-based stuff that I work on, and I've developed tons of games, none of which you've ever heard of, but many of which have actually been played. I've developed, I've concepted and developed loads of them. None of them were particularly commercially viable, but I had the idea, and I wanted to bring the idea to life to see if it had any merit. And as often as not, it did have some merit. And if I'd stuck with it and done more work with it, it would have started to sing. But you wanted to develop it as quickly as possible, and a lot of the games that I develop have a mathematical back end to them. There's often an economic component or a dice rolling component to it. Or, random number generation. It's dice rolling by any other name, and therefore testing it out in Excel is actually quite straightforward. But the important thing about it is you can throw that idea around and do a little bit of balancing in the space of an hour. It doesn't need ages and ages and ages and ages and ages and ages. But that's probably not what you're aspiring to. Because every time that I do a bit of developing along those lines, it's because I know full and well it's likely to be just me that's working on it. And I could dedicate the time to learning Unity or Unreal Engine or insert whatever current kind of framework, toolkit, whatever you could name, and get proficient enough to do more with it. But that's a year's worth of investment, right? And it's time. And time is the one currency that I just don't have. I've got more now than I've ever had in the past, but even then, doing the video lark is my time sink, and the video lark is already at the point that, firstly, I find it satisfying to do. Secondly, I've not yet finished. I'm not even close to finished with the video lark. I have yet to hit what I consider that's it. That's the one. I have now made the video I always wanted to make. I could now walk away from it and be perfectly happy. And until I hit that point, I need to put more effort into striving to hit that point. He says, for about the 1400th time. So you want to, if you actually want to get it developed, you're going to need to learn the tools to make that development happen. The good news is there have never been more tools readily available. I would recommend jumping straight to either Unity or Unreal Engine. Unity is a little bit more usable as a developer from the get-go. Unreal Engine can make more bells and whistles. Do your research for the game that it is you're trying to make, and see which one you think is going to be better suited to it. They both have their strengths. And they both have their weaknesses, so there is no right answer. I mean, it could be something that I'm trying to think of some of the more lowbrow stuff. RPG Creator is way more accessible, but you're constrained a little bit further with it. But you'll be up and running in that in no time at all. Oh, don't get snagged on there. Come on. This is why I can't stand this piece of kit. Look at it. Flipping one wagon attached to another wagon, and neither one of them wants to play ball properly, and I've now pressed the Windows button. That's not helpful. Let's put it back into alignment. Give it some of that. Right, and see if we can't get past this. No, it's just gone horribly wrong. What I don't want to do, my usual fix for this, no, you've completely screwed the pooch here, son. Yeah, that's... Oh, God. There's only one real way out of this, and that's to detach the trailer, ram everything into the right place, and then attach it again. This car isn't helping either. Get out of the way! Go on, clear off! Go on, get out of the way. Go on, go about your business. I'm in the middle of something, and it's sort of important. All right, detach the trailer. As long as you keep the two trailers attached, that's helpful, because once you detach them, you've got to meander a trailer gently backwards to get the other one to then be in line so you can rehitch the bloody thing. Come on! Alright, hit the trailer. Yeah, it doesn't help that front end is snagged on there, but I think if I ram the trailer at sufficient welly, there you go. Right, yeah. Go on, keep going. There we go. That'll probably about do that. And then we want to go and ram the front business end and see if we can't get it unhooked off there. Now, I'm pretty sure I placed that myself. So worst case scenario, I'll just bulldoze it. But let's not fret about that. So yeah, there's I can't remember if it's called Game Constructor or Game Creator or something like that. That's another kind of easier entry point. And if all you want to do is skunk work out some ideas, then great. It's a good way to go. I mean, it's going to be a longer process to get to a playable state than mucking about in Excel. But at the same time, you're not talking about a full term of development. Now, the thing with a full term of development is by the time you come out the far end of it, you'll go, oh yeah, oh, I've actually made a thing. How terrific. You'll go through the same tutorials that everybody goes through, so you'll make a clone of flipping asteroids or something like that if you're doing Unity. It's some vertical shooter anyway. You can readily go plundering either any kind of asset store you can name to pick up odds and ends to be your graphics. Humble Bundle's usually a good place to go in order to get just big libraries of kind of stock graphics, in varying different styles. Just back it up. Don't get snagged again. Oh, for just spare me. I'm done with sugarcane. Sugarcane can just do one. It is no flipping fun at all. I'm going to find myself I'm not finished mucking with this. I'm going to get it working. I'm gonna find a sugar beet contract, give it a go to make sure I don't hate that just as much, and then get on with it. Right, there you go. You are unsnagged. Right, now attached to the back of the bloody tractor. Come on. There. Right. That's it. Right, that's what you get for trying to cut the corner. Shut up. Not in the mood. Right. We're just going down the hill. I just need to go down to the next exit, and then we're on the move again. So right. Okay. So you're starting to learn the tools to actually make your game. And what you're looking for before you even get to that point is you need to write down your idea. And you need to write it down in an elevator pitch fashion to start with. What is it? What's it going to do? What's it all about? Undo the pipe first. All right, there you go. Done. Turn this on. It is already down tempo. We should be good to go straight away. Let's have a look. This is the original sugarcane field. You see that one over that we were at a moment ago. That was the expansion fields because I found myself running out of sugar quite quickly. Also, it sells for a decent amount. So if I'm ever short of cash, I can just flog bags of sugar. And obviously it's a component part in making cake, so there's that. Yeah, just come on, keep coming round, keep coming round, keep coming round, keep coming round, keep coming round. There's quite a lot of weed in here, but we should get a good healthy amount of sugar as well. You go, oh, you missed the start of that row. I'll get to it, don't worry about it. It's all fine. It's all fine. What you should do is plant 2 rows of sugarcane, and then I probably said sugar beet a few times, so I didn't mean to. Plant a few rows of sugarcane, and then leave a gap between those rows so you can readily wangle your tractor down it. But who has that kind of time? No. I just go straight through it, carve it on up, drive the trailer through it. It's all great. Where am I going now? Where was I? I was at... Oh, write down your idea. Right? So you've got your idea. You know what sort of thing you're trying to make. You then want to expand on the idea, but you want to work on your core game loop. And your core game loop is player does this, player does that, player does the other, rinse, repeat, go again. Right? And it doesn't matter what game you're talking about, that's what it is. You know, Mario drops into the level, he moves from left to right, grabbing coins as he goes, dealing with monsters, gets to the end, jumps in a pipe. Right? Player picks their car, joins the race, does the qualification period, then does the race, gets some cash, and potentially either upgrades their car or goes straight into another race, either with the same or a different vehicle. Gran Turismo, right? That's the summary that you want to start with. Now, the summary should not be too wordy. We're talking low level here, right? If you want to get into the whole, I might touch on a bit of game publishing and marketing and stuff like that later on, but let's keep it simple for now. All you want to do is make the game that you want to play because you think it's a good idea. If you are trying to make a game that you don't want to play, stop right now. You will never finish it. Right? Unless you are being paid by someone to do it, you will never finish it unless you want to play it. Because if you want to play it, then at least someone is going to find it fun. If you don't want to play it, why should anybody else? All right? There's plenty of cynical game design done out there, but unless at the end of the day you've come up with something that actually you're interested in playing, then it's probably not on the right track there. It's a litmus test that I've used at many studios that I've worked with in the past, many companies that I've worked with in the past on games, is you can tell you're on a winner when lunchtime rolls around and the people who work on the game are playing the game, and not because it's their job to do so. They are playing it because they have fun playing it. The greatest games are the ones where the devs can't stop playing it even when they're midway through, and every time they come out of a play session they're all, wouldn't it be great if it did this, that and the other, and then they get into an argument about, wouldn't that break this though, wouldn't that make it, we should try it out, yeah, great idea. That's how you know you're onto a total winner, is if your development team and your testers, they just go, I want to play all of this and more. Then you know you're on the right track. But for starters, let's go with you fancy playing it, because you're going to be playing it a lot, and you will lose sight of, is this any good? I think it's good, and to that end, resist getting other people to play it for as long as you possibly can, because in the same way as early access games will often be the last time that those players try your game. So if a game enters early access, and I've got dozens of games that I only played at early access when it first launched, because I was trying to do some cynical get there first video channel monkey business, right? Never went back to it. So you play it at first and you kind of go, that's a bit bare bones. I can see that it could be good in the future. Will you play it again in the future? No. Why? There are other things I could play now. Very rarely do you go back to something late on in early access. It takes really exceptional games for that to actually work. Prison Architect, good example. RimWorld, good example. But for the majority of early access games, the only time people are going to experience them is when they're incomplete. I'm not arguing against early access, because there are plenty of good reasons to do early access, but there's far too many developers go into an early access approach without any kind of an exit strategy, without any thought towards, when are we actually going to be done with this? Where's our ta-da, job done moment? Because if you don't have one, the worst offenders for this are the fun pimps. With 7 Days to Die, they have no idea what they're doing. 7 Days to Die is tremendous, right? It is a tremendous game, and I've said it before, but they should have done a couple of bug fixes just to sort of polish the edge off it, and declared it done at Alpha 15. They're now on Alpha 20 something, and it's over a decade since they first started working on it, and you just kind of go, and they've changed all of the core mechanics on multiple occasions. They've gone through multiple iterations of their art engine, and you just kind of go, fellas, why not just declare the first game done and start taking all of these fresh ideas and slinging them into a sequel? Because you are now past the bulk of your sales. You've made them already. Now all you're doing is spending the money on, arguably, I think some of the changes they made have made the game significantly worse. For other people, maybe that's not true, but for me, I think it's. That's why I mentioned Alpha 15, because for me that's the high watermark. That's the best the game has been. Other people feel differently, and they're allowed to. But the fun pimps are, it's just a terrible, terrible business strategy, and it seems, looking from the outside in, to be headless development. But anyway, I digress. So you need to know what your game is, right? What are you aiming for? And you want to boil that down into the core mechanic of what the game is. And then you need to think about your gameplay in a moment-to-moment, minute-to-minute, and hour-to-hour basis, right? What is the player doing every second of the game, right? I mean, it will be a variety of different things, but in this case, I'm playing Farming Simulator. What am I doing right now? Driving a tractor, right? So I'm ensuring, this is what you would put under your moment-to-moment gameplay, is I am secure. In fact, let's work the other way, hour to hour. I have decided that I need to harvest. It is time for me to harvest my flipping sugarcane. So I've got the necessary equipment to make that happen, and I've gone to the field. Right, that's my hour-to-hour gameplay, because it's going to take the better part of an hour to get it done, and that's my big term objective right now. In let's say Diablo. So we'll use Diablo 3 as an example, and you're playing Seasons mode. It may well be player is looking for specific equipment and is chasing down the last couple of pieces of their set equipment. So we'll be running rifts in order to find the best equipment they've got. If you don't play Diablo, that makes no sense. If you do, you kind of go, oh, yeah, all right, okay. So then we go into the minute-to-minute gameplay, and let's put it in Farm Sim again. So the minute-to-minute gameplay now is going to be continues harvesting the fields until the trailer is full, at which point fight the trailer all the way to the old sugar factory and unload. Minute-to-minute gameplay. Let's pick another random game. Minute-to-minute gameplay. Right. Okay. Let's go with a Gears of War style cover shooter. Right. The player will be fighting through engagements until they have cleared all of the enemies out of that area, at which point they'll probably be moving to the next one. Pick a shooter. Yep. That's those. And then you get into the moment-to-moment, and the moment-to-moment has to be compelling. So for Farm Simulator here, I'm having to make sure that my tractor is properly aligned with the crop that I'm trying to harvest, and makes micro adjustments to keep that working properly. What shall I apply this to? Moment-to-moment, Pac-Man. Right, moment-to-moment in Pac-Man is going to be Pac-Man moves around the maze, gathering pellets using basic controls while avoiding ghosts. Okay, there you go. So you need to break down what's going to be happening. Now, if you think about like a village building game, for example, if they're putting together, and this is one of the problems that village building games, even up to something like a City Skylines, they all suffer from a similar problem. Not that they're not good games, but they have a gap in the gameplay. The thing is, though, that the gap in gameplay can actually be a strength. So if we ignore the hour to hour, right? I'm playing Skylines. My hour to hour is I am working on the development of a new residential area to serve the commercial district in downtown. So I've got to build roads. I've got to zone up properly. I've got to make sure it's got all of the necessary buildings that I need, and so on. Now, your minute-to-minute gameplay will be player waits until they have the right idea for where to stick something and the money to do so. which means that as part of that gameplay experience, there is a period of waiting. Farm Sim's got a period of waiting in it. After I've finished harvesting all of the crops that I've got here, and attending to all of the other jobs that take place in, where are we, October. Once I've done that, what do? Do I wait for 24 hours to roll around? No, because the game has got the solution in there, and the solution is I can now advance the clock at high speed to get to the next point at which something needs to happen. In Skylines or in a village builder, that waits for something to happen is filled with watching your creation do its thing, right? Because it all grows on its own. So in Skylines, you zone things up and people start moving around and looking at it. And if you're trying to build something scenic, you're going to, the same is true like a transport fever, something like that, is that while you're waiting to make enough money to do the thing you want to do next, you'll look at what you've built already. There is an element of the spectacle that goes in there. Now, I doubt very much that was in a game design document to start with, but it ends up where there's a weakness in that part of what you're playing against is the economy, and therefore there will be lots of downtime while you're waiting for the economy to tick up. They solve it by going, well, we'll have a time advance feature so that the money ticks in faster. That's what this uses. But fundamentally, you're building something glorious. I would say that it works better in a village builder than it does this. You stick the time advance feature on, getting all of the stuff planned out. Think about any time that I've played any kind of a village builder of some description. Not Skylines, but a village builder, where I've queued up 15, 20 buildings to be built, and I then have to wait for them to actually be built, because I've queued stuff so far in advance. And that's meant that my resources have been spread between 6 works in progress, rather than just getting one done and then getting the next one done. Yeah, it's because I'm not a good player. But also because I'll quite happily queue up a bunch of stuff and then just wait for it to happen. Both these things are true. But am I having a bad time? No. Am I playing using the optimal path? No. Am I bothered by that? No. If I'm having a good time, then it doesn't matter how I'm playing it. The whole concept, which I have referred to often, of you're playing it wrong, is a lie. It's rubbish, and it's most often only dangled about by self-proclaimed elitists who think, oh no, mine is the only way to play this. By doing it any other way, you're an idiot. And you kind of go, okay, do you have fun playing it your way? They go, yes. And you go, well, guess what? I have fun playing it my way. Which one of us is wrong? You kind of go, well, I bet I'm having more fun than you. I kind of go, really? How would you measure that? Oh, well, I'm unlocking all the special stuff. I go, I don't care about special stuff. I'm having fun. And therefore, you can stick a cork in that big hole in the middle of your face. That's just, mentioning once again that once the player has it, it's up to them how to enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it at all, then either the game was never for them in the first place, or there's something wrong with your game. No game is ever going to appeal 100% to everybody. But there are an awful lot of bad games out there, or there are a lot of games where no consideration has been made for, is this any good? Right? What is the player actually going to do on a moment-to-moment basis? A lot of these work simulators are awful for it. Just dreadful. They'll come up with some minute-to-minute and an hour-to-hour stuff, but then when they look at the kind of the moment-to-moment, the second-to-second, you kind of go like, well, that's exactly the same as doing the other thing. Yep. Is it fun? Don't know. Yeah, and that's it. You've got a choice of fun and satisfying. Ideally, both. If you think about a good shooter, right? So if you take Call of Duty is the best shooter over the course of its lifetime. And the reason for that, no, I'm not, no, you can't argue with me. I'm right. You know why? Because it's a subjective opinion. And therefore it doesn't matter if yours is different. The whole joy of subjectivity is that a subjective opinion is never wrong. It can be objectively wrong, but subjectively it isn't. But Call of Duty as a franchise is the best shooting franchise ever made, because all of the focus has been placed on how does it actually feel to shoot those weapons in the game itself. Put aside the story. I've never completed a single player Call of Duty because I find quite a lot of those stories to be outright offensive, and I feel very I feel ethically bad for playing them. A Battlefield, I've never really had a problem with a Battlefield, although I haven't played any of the later stuff which have got storylines in. And this is not about being the bad guy. The problem is they're pretending they think they're the good guys. Well, they position it as the good guys, but actually they're the worst kind of international bullying you could imagine. The very term uniformed assassins comes into play. Politics aside, and but you see, that's the problem with making a game that has a very strong nationalist core. That said, doesn't stop it being an exceptionally good shooter, and the reason is that the core of all gameplay development comes from how does it feel to fire this weapon. How, does it make you feel good firing this weapon? Do you feel powerful? Do you feel in control of it? And at least part of that has come about, the success of part of that has come about because of Activision's obsession with making sure that Call of Duty always runs. This is from the 360 onwards, has always run at 60 frames a second, which means that everything feels crisp, it feels clinical, and it feels like you are in total control of your hardware, whatever that may be. And that's moment to moment. Moment to moment is the control you've got over the hardware. In terms of my favourite video game gun to fire, tricky. I haven't had any that really stand out, apart from one, and that is the pistol in Half-Life 2. The pistol in Half-Life 2. There is something about it, and I'm fairly certain it's the audio design, that just makes you go, oh, that feels great. That feels so... It feels meaty and weighty, and it just works. I'm no particular gun enthusiast, but at the same time, I love a good action movie, and an action movie that I'm in, so much the better. But there you go. But that is nailing moment to moment, is getting the feel. If your game is about guns, then the guns need to be good. Yeah, I've spoken about APB before. Now APB was supposed to be it's another Dave Jones, but it's supposed to be it can be performed here. I'm in the place where it can be performed. Just empty my bucket, please. Not all over the floor. Just empty the ruddy thing. Come on, get it gone. Just. Well, I mentioned I hate doing just sugarcane. I hate it. Everything about it is bad, apart from the end product, which sells for a decent penny, and therefore it's got to be done. Just empty it. Get out. I don't care if it's on the floor. I'll find a shovel thing and fix it. No, you won't just tip it on the floor. You're being flippant now. And what should we do? Let's do another lap. Let's come back and try again. Okay. Yeah, normally you just reverse the trailer, but I've got a trailer attached to a trailer, and therefore it's just anarchy. I've just got anarchy attached to the back of my tractor, and it's woeful. Let's bring the hoofer doofer into line with everything else we've got going on there. So thinking about your moment-to-moment gameplay is vital. What am I actually doing, and how is that going to feel? Right, and if you're making the game, that's what you make first. I've given multiple people kind of recommendations on making their first game. I go like, right, find the game engine thing that you want to work with, And then number one, and it doesn't matter if you're doing a text-based adventure or if you're doing a full 3D whatnot. Go like, make it so whatever movement you've got going on, it can be done, right? A 2D shooty spaceship thing, or a 3D world explorer or farming game. Make sure you can do the moving around bit and that it works. You can do it better later on. Why are you just giving me? You're just giving me trouble here. What's your crisis? You've got plenty of room for more sugarcane. I'll even go and prove that out to myself to make sure that I'm not on crazy pills. Oh, everything. Yeah, you save that content. See if I care. Sugarcane, loads of space, absolutely colossal amounts. Right then, they shouldn't be giving me any flipping lip, and at the moment it's giving me lots of lip. Let's move my tractor out of the way here. They're all parked up here because there's a lot of business goes on up here. Yeah, first thing you do, get your movement right. So you've got your character or spaceship or tractor moving around the space a little bit. And then make some kind of an interactive thing. You know what? Roblox isn't a bad way of kind of scoping things out. There's a lot of good tools that come with Roblox to make games because it's what it's all about. And also the number of games that people rip off in Roblox is just hilarious. But there are some good games, and then there are templates available so that you can go and basically reproduce that game. The problem with templates is your learning curve is far shallower, but you don't learn anything like as much. Doing it for yourself is harder, but you'll learn more. So it's up to you whether you pick up a template of some description and then see what you can do with it, or if you kind of go, no, I shall do this the Iron Prince way. Also, if it's a template that's for sale, you can pretty much guarantee that commercially it's not going to be all that. Do we think it's working? Well, let's poke our head in. Yep, there you go. I see. So the trick is slightly further away than you're anticipating. Okay, well, I won't remember that for next time around. I'll still try and press it right up against the side of the building and see if we get some magic. But hey ho. Yeah, and then create an interactive element, and I usually say a button, and I go, and when the player presses that button, make it have a little thing appear somewhere that says you press the button. Congratulations, you now have everything you need to make a game. Because the next step will be, now when they push the button, make a number increase by 1. Right? And then at the same time, make a number decrease by 1. Congratulations, you've now got a working economy. And that's, on a fundamental level, that's really, really all there is to it. And from there, it becomes as complex as you decide it needs to be. And then it's all about efficiency and the look and feel of the thing, and ensuring that that it doesn't have memory leaks and bugs and all of that kind of stuff. And then you're looking for exploits and all of that kind of thing. So for your first endeavour, this comes from one of my favourite writers, Scott Sigler, right? And he does a lot of horror books. Which are, well, sci-fi horror, I would call them, very good, and the best ones are very grisly as well, but they're great. But he also does the Galactic Football League series, which is it's American football in space, isn't it? That's really all you need to know. The audiobooks are fab. You first start listening to it and go, oh, he's not got a perfect narrator voice. And you kind of go, oh, he's doing lots of different voices. Oh, and there's special effects and also it's just fab. It's just such good fun. It was originally intended for kind of a teen audience, and therefore, in the same way as Harry Potter has a lot of kind of really transparent character arcs and developments coming up, as well as some stuff that doesn't necessarily work. But at the same time, it's just a good story. It's just a good story. Anyway, he did a kind of a 6-part video series on how to be a novelist. There are a load of guides out there on how to be a novelist, but there's one bit in the first part of it that I went, absolutely, this is great advice. I would recommend it to anybody making anything. Which is, right, the first thing you have to learn about writing a novel, the first thing you have to learn about making a game, or being a YouTubist, or being a records producer, or a songwriter, or anything like that, is finish one. That's it. The first thing you have to do is finish one. You have to learn how to finish. So the way Scott describes it is, it goes, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write a terrible novel, and it will be awful. It will be completely lousy. So if you've got a bee in your bonnet about a particular game that you want to make, don't make that game. Make one you don't care about first to get through the learning curve. Scott's recommendation is write your terrible novel, put it away, don't think about it, don't read it for 6 months, then go back to it, because the second thing you have to learn how to do is edit. And you can't edit while it's still warm. When you go back to it, you will have fresh eyes looking at it. It won't be quite so common. Another tip comes from Ben Aronovich, who writes another of my favourite series of books, which is the Rivers of London series. And Ben's actually a backer of the channel, which makes it even cooler. Write 500 words a day, every day. Your target may vary, but it doesn't matter as long as you write 500 words a day on your project. Right? Whatever your book is, 500 words a day. No excuses, no days off for good behaviour, 500 words a day. If you miss a day, you don't have to do 1,000 words the following day. Just don't miss any days. No, your target is 500. You have to get into the habit of working on it. There's a great self-help book that actually isn't that great, because I don't remember much of it, but I remember its core philosophy. And the core philosophy is a thing called the dip. The book is also called The Dip, and it's about why people bail on projects. And when you're first starting on something, every last shred of progress comes fast and fluid, and you're keen as mustard, and it's all happening, and it's all brilliant, and you're going, I'm going places. And you get to a difficult bit, and you go, difficult bit. And it could be a difficult bit because you don't know how to get past it. It could be a difficult bit because it's complicated. But there are a couple of problems. Firstly, you don't know if this difficult bit that you've just reached is... And if you're telling a story, you don't know how to get out of a solution, or you're in the middle of the book and you just kind of go, how do I get from here to the end, or whatever it is. But the difficult bit, the things you don't know are, A, how long am I going to be stuck in this dip until I start feeling the flush of, well, hey, now we're rolling again. And then secondly, is it actually going to get better at all? Or is this it from here on? You have to be able to power through the dip. And the right 500 words per day approach means that even if you hit the dip, you're just going to power through it. You're going to get out of it. So if you're going through tutorials and you're learning how to code your thing, and you're into the grindy bit that isn't a lot of fun, or you've got to try and figure out a mechanic to make something happen, or whatever it is, don't stop. Keep going. You have to get past it. Find an alternate means of solving the problem, by all means. But unless you learn how to finish, which means getting through these troughs, through these dips in productivity, you will never finish. You've got to learn how to finish a game. Star Citizen. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there forever being 7 days to die. Learn how to finish. Otherwise, you're just going to endlessly iterate on stuff you've already got. My daughter is quite a widely read writer on a specialist site. Well, not a specialist site, on a fiction site online. She's got 230,000 people who read her stuff. She doesn't let me read it. No. I kind of go, fine, she'll point me at it when she wants me to read it. But she has been obsessed with writing since she was like 14, 15 years of age. And in every waking moment, she'd just be writing. What would she be writing? She'd be rewriting her first chapters over and over and over and over and over again. Because by the time she'd finished it, she wasn't happy with it and wanted to go again. Lots of good stuff in there. The one she was writing when she was a teenager was along the lines of kind of X-Men-esque, but kind of young adult literature, influenced by Hunger Games and Potter and all of that kind of jazz, because that's the generation she is. And X-Men, right? A team of superheroes doing their thing. And she'd rewrite the opening section over and 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 over again, and never really get any further forward with it. It got to the point where she'd been writing this thing for 4 years, and had only got a few chapters in. And she's going, yeah, but I'm getting better at them. Then she went to college to study writing as a degree course. Came out the other end. Now she knows how to finish. But until you get to that point, you end up just looking at what you've done already and go, oh, I could do that better. Never mind doing it better, just do it. That's the key. So let's recap, because we're at our time limit for today. Yeah. Let's recap. Step 1, know what your idea is, and then step 2, try and mock up some of those bits of ideas in as loose a templating fashion as you like. You could turn it into a card game, a board game, do just the number crunching of the economy in Excel to watch the numbers dance. If the outcomes of things in your game are dealt with probability, just make yourself a little probability system, test it out. Does it make you happy? I've got one that I'm going to be releasing next year. That'll actually be more widely released because I'm going to tie it into a video project. I've got a couple of weeks coming up where I'm not at work, and I'm planning to do the work on it. The good news is not a massive amount of work. Quite a lot of it's almost fiction writing, more than it is a game, but I still see it as a game, and I've been able to model a lot of what it does in Excel, which is fab. But I like kicking these ideas around. This time last year, I was running a text-based driving game, racing game. Yeah. Did it work? Yeah, pretty much. It pretty much worked almost as I intended. I wanted to go further with it, but hampered by a lack of time and an enthusiasm to do so. I think I probably went too early in letting people have a go with it, but at the same time, letting people have a go with it is a great motivator for finishing it off, for getting it past the line. And I got the first phase of it past the line, and I was quite happy with how it turned out. I had 4 phases in mind in total, and I will revisit the idea in the future, but I will revisit it as a mega game rather than a play-by-web, which is what it is right now. I digress. When I start running mega games again, you all will hear all about it and have the opportunity to come play if that's the thing you want to do. So then what? You've digressed. You were supposed to be doing a summary and getting out a video. Oh yeah, good point. Well played. Go. What? So let's recap. Know what your game is, right? What is it? Prototype some of the mechanics in the game in an easy system, in a simple system that doesn't necessarily require any programming whatsoever. Just monkey with it. Figure out what your hour-to-hour, your minute-to-minute, and your moment-to-moment gameplay should look/feel like. What is your player going to be doing during those segments of play? And then choose your tool, go through some tutorial, make a completely different game, finish it. Keep it simple, keep it light, finish a bad game. Put it away, have a look at it 6 months later. and then you'll be able to evaluate it effectively. And that's about it. Oh, and make sure you enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy your game, the odds of anybody else enjoying it are decreased significantly. That's about it. That's where I'd start. You don't have to do everything for yourself. If you can imagine what it would look like with great graphics and all you've got is coloured squares moving around the screen, it's good enough. Didn't stop Dwarf Fortress. And a lot of people go, oh, Dwarf Fortress is magnificent. I've rebounded off it half a dozen times going, this is the ugliest thing I've ever played. I used to play ASCII games as well when I was in my teens, because that's about as good as the technology was. These days, I'm a smidge more demanding. You can't go, oh, it's retro graphics. I go, no. I was playing Cosmoteer last weekend, and you could say, oh, it's retro graphics. I go, no, it's not. Graphics never looked like this when it was retro, because the gameplay offers so much more freedom than you could ever have back then. Same as RimWorld and stuff like that. Is you kind of go, no, because the graphics aren't the game. The graphics are not the game. One fail brigader was recommending that I give that Simutrans has been knocked out on Steam, looking like it did when it first came out, and I don't care. You know why? Because it's not going to be head and shoulders better than Transport Fever, and Transport Fever looks great. Yes, it can. Don't give me that. Back it up. Back it up. Where did we have it last time? About here, but I think we were just at the front edge of the cage. What do you know? You found the right bit. Anyway, I hope that answered your question, because it does. Where you go from here, anybody's guess. Your next question should be, how do you publish a game? But I don't expect to hear that question for a good 9 to 12 months, by which point you've got a game put together. Yeah, right. I'm in Colonel Failure. Thanks very much for your request, Dusk. It was a good one to answer, because if you've got an idea, this is a problem I have. This is a blocker that I have. Number one, I make videos. Good. Number two, I know that in order to become greater in terms of popularity and in terms of reaching a wider viewership, the videos I make need to be better. Number three, I have ideas aplenty for better videos. Number four, I still don't make the better videos. What's the hold up there? Well, twofold. Number one, it's going to take a while to make those longer videos. And I've got enough other stuff going on that I can't always find the motivation. I need to go and fix my tractor. I can't always find the motivation to go off and invest the time. Number two, if I believe in something and I think this is a great idea, I am almost certainly not going to follow through on it. And you're going to go, well, what, eh? What? And you're going to go, and the reason for that is that while it only exists in my head, it is as great an idea as I think it is. Until I make it real, I won't. Yeah, it is Schrodinger's idea, right? It is simultaneously the greatest thing ever made and completely useless, totally awful. Nobody could ever possibly enjoy it, and therefore, if I don't make it, it's all subconscious. This is me having gone through my subconscious and going, why do I keep doing this? And therefore, if you don't make it, then there's no pressure on it being good, because in your head it's always brilliant. But until such a time as you actually make it, you've no idea if it's brilliant or if you're delusional. Shady Palms, friends. Shady Palms was an idea. You may have come across it. You may not have come across it. I think I made a grand total of 2 videos. Shady Palms is, I'm convinced, it's still a great idea. I did such a bad job with it. Because, Shady Palms, the concept was take The Sims, make a soap opera. But make a soap opera in the style of other Twin Peaks / X-Files / something's a bit weird here, right? Soap opera, make it in The Sims, job's a good one. it's a great idea. With my style of occasionally surreal but frequently pop culture referencing commentary, and let's call it writing for the lack of a better word, mixed with the instantly recognisable and understandable aesthetic of The Sims, mixed with characters from the Dozaverse who are eclectically named, and some of whom who have personality already, especially when I start imposing further personality based off their actions/reactions within the game, it should start to write itself. I've got the intro down 100%. The intro sting for Shady Palms, love it. Even down to my Simpsons Blackboard approach for that series, nailed it. The bombastic intro, it's the Simpsons Blackboard. Yeah? Okay. Right? This is how you get people to not skip the intro, is write something in the intro every time that is different. Therefore, your intro is always different, even though it's always the same. There you go. That's a little secret weapon you can have there. Problem with Shady Palms is I realistically, for those first 2 episodes, I needed to record maybe 5 hours, 6 hours for each one. I also needed to invest much more time in the setup and making sure that I'd got my environment set up. I didn't invest anything like enough time in getting that setup done. And therefore, what I ended up with was half-baked. It wasn't done. I should have spent more time putting it together. And therefore, when it didn't do what I wanted it to do, which was find a fresh audience, which it wouldn't have done, because I only gave it 2 episodes, because I wasn't happy with the quality that I got out of the end of it, despite the fact that it was quite fun in places, that it wasn't a million miles wide of the mark, it just didn't hit the mark. But it didn't hit the mark because I didn't put in enough effort. I didn't give it enough time. And you kind of go, well, yeah, but you were making other videos at the time. And you kind of go, yes, but there was no pressure on me to release those when I released them. I could have just had it on the back burner that I'd keep working on until I got to the point where I went, that's the one, that's the polished gem, that is the one that's going to get people in the door. And therefore, I killed the idea. The idea is dead because I executed it poorly. So the holdback is, what if I take another one of these quote-unquote great ideas and then execute it poorly, then the idea is dead. There's no reason for Shady Palms to be dead. I could have another swing at it. I could retcon the whole thing. It's video. It's all throwaway. Especially the stuff I make. The stuff I make is incredibly disposable. I want to get towards making stuff that isn't as disposable, that does have a good lifeline, a good lifetime behind it. But to do so, it requires much more investment in time up front. And I kind of go, well, if I'm investing time in this, I'm not going to be investing it in the bread and butter, everyday routine stuff that you stick out, and therefore you're putting more risk. It's risk aversion. That's all it is. There you go. That may or may not be pertinent to the conversation, but we're now cracking on for over an hour on this video. I think we've been here long enough. I still haven't finished this flaming field. You'd say hour to hour gameplay. It's more like hour to ruddy infinity gameplay. Flipping sugarcane. I'm sick of it. Well, what are you going to plant here instead? This isn't big enough for a sugar beet field. You're going to need a sugar beet field down on one of your main events. And also, you wouldn't want to place wheat up here. There's not enough room to combine half. Well, yeah, there is actually. This bit's not so bad. The next one up is not as good. You want a little short order crop that is. So I need to experiment with sugar beet. Yeah, I'll figure out how to do that. Anyway, there you go. That's it. I am definitely done now. I'm out of here. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a delight. I'll catch you for the next one. Cheerio.